Hi, I'm Kathleen Stubelik.
I'm Caleb Collins.
I'm Drew Speziali.
Thanks. So how's your tour been so far?
It's been really fun.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're just about at the end of a 3-week tour. It's about 20 shows, no days off.
Wow.
We started in Ohio and we're ending in Toronto.
It's been kind of it's been kind of dynamic. Like the shows have all been pretty different. Where it's like kind of ranging from smaller spaces to like a couple festival shows. But it's all been really good. We got to see some old friends.
Nice.
Yeah, we've played with lots of, within 20 shows we've played like a handful of shows with various bands throughout the tour. So it's been kind of cool to have alternating lineups, but for a few days at a time. And we played with some really fantastic bands, including Systems, who are a band from North Carolina, United Nations, which is some members of Pianos Become the Teeth, and Jeff from Thursday, and then we did the most shows with an indie rapper named B. Dolan, who's on Strange Famous Records, which is Sage Francis's label. And those shows are really awesome. So
How did you guys end up hooking up with him? It seems like kind of an interesting mix.
Kathy met him at a Sage Francis show, right?
Yeah, I just started talking to him. We were talking about touring and playing in bands, and he mentioned that the next tour he wanted to do was with a live band, and so we just started emailing back and forth and working on music, a few tracks together, and he was like, "Is this crazy, or do you want to play some shows together?" And we were down, so and we were lucky that it worked out. The timing worked out well, and the places that we wanted to go were good for him too. So yeah, we had a killer time.
Nice.
We miss him.
Have the crowds been receptive to having that diverse lineup?
Yeah, and there was some sort of, I wouldn't call that apprehension, but like people who were watching just to see what it was, why we were playing together, and then they were just completely blown away. Like by the end, we heard so many people, they were turned on to him. And they were thankful that they came out and got to see something interesting instead of the same sounding bands 4 or 5 times over and over again.
Is that something you guys would kind of want to see more of personally, like more diverse lineups, kind of getting different scenes integrated?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just about, it's about the message and the passion, the ideas, and not so much the actual sound that's coming out.
I kind of felt like growing up shows are always like that in my area too, where there'd be someone would rent a hall and just kind of throw bands together, and you'd see people set up and not really know what it was going to be like, and I've always found that to be like really exciting and kind of turn you on to different music when you're at a point in your life where you're still really receptive to new things.
I think that the big difference is like now there's kind of like a marketability, to lumping all the same style of bands together from like a booking agent or promoter standpoint, so they can just guarantee that a concentrated crowd is going to come because they like that style of music. So it seems like unfortunately it seems it's like from an industrial point of view it's like risky to throw diversity into a lineup, which is it's a sad state of affairs when it's all about creative expression. It should be about, like a diversity of ideas and styles coming together. So it's been fun to, sort of break the mold a little bit in that regard.
What was the age group like for the shows generally? Was it like older kids, or was it a lot of like young, impressionable people getting like a first dose of...
How do you define old?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We're old.
We're old.
I'm joking.
But like in the sense of like people who are just like in that impressionable stage where they're just like being exposed to the new music was really good and enlightening, or was it people who you thought were maybe fans of Circle Takes the Square or B. Dolan and were just like, I wonder what this other thing is going to be, and just...
I think it was a bit of both. Like it kind of varied from city to city, where some places kind of just have like a younger like crowd going community, and I mean in cities like New York and Philadelphia, it was really all across the board, people from all walks of life.
Yeah, definitely the bigger towns were, it was a bigger age bracket, and it was hard to pin down, to be honest. Like there were definitely some shows where B. Dolan definitely had a prominent following, and then some shows where we had more of a following, but both groups of people were certainly receptive to you know,
Each other's music,
yeah,
yeah.
and
What they're trying to
exciting.
say artistically, I suppose.
It was, I actually really liked it. It was difficult to kind of like paint the crowds all with the same brush because they're like so different every night. So.
Less black t-shirts, more color.
Well, we have
It's still a lot of black t-shirts.
Hence the wardrobe tonight, I see.
Yeah. Are we all wearing?
So, did you guys? I haven't seen what you guys have been playing on the new or on this tour. Has it been a lot of? Was it been like mostly the new album and just like one or two cuts from As the Roots Undo and like the first EP, or has it been kind of pulling from everything?
We've been playing a good mix of songs, a lot from our new record, Decompositions Volume 1, and a good amount from As the Roots Undo as well.
We've just been playing for a really long time.
Yeah, we have
Playing
a
the
longer
longest set
set,
we've
so
ever played.
yeah.
How long's the set?
Last night we played for an hour and a half.
Oh wow, that's.
And you still have energy
They
for
couldn't kick us
tonight?
off.
We're tired, but I think it's just 'cause it's the end of tour. But,
Yeah.
And you guys have done this. How many days straight did you guys?
This is like 17, day 17.
We've got, this is 3 shows left, including tonight, so
Okay,
20
well,
shows
that's
total.
really
but-
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I think even just kind of the way that we've tried to like structure the set, where there's kind of like parts we can not so much spare some energy, but it kind of like it has ebbs and
lulls,
flows.
yeah.
It is really
Yeah.
dynamic. So, but yeah, it's been fun playing a long set too. I think it kind of like in that context gives all the songs some new meaning.
Yeah.
I think when we're trying to make a set list, we're just like kind of trying to think of like cutting songs. We're just like, well, I don't really want to cut anything. Let's just try and play them all.
Yeah.
And it's hard when we have shorter sets,
Mhm.
like when we did the European tour, we only had, there was a few shows where we had shorter sets because there were festivals or whatever. And we were just like, oh, we want to play them all, you know, our songs.
You get to play like 3
long.
songs. Yeah.
Yeah, for us it means like 1.5 songs sometimes. But yeah, so it's sometimes tough choices, but we don't really have to make them on this tour. We just play as long as we want.
Is it weird playing a lot of the older stuff? Because I mean, that album's now like 10 years old, 9 years old.
Next year will be 10 years, yeah.
Okay.
For As the Roots Undo.
Is it weird replaying like songs that you wrote like 10, probably 11 years ago quite well?
I can finally play them.
Yeah.
Like almost. So it's awesome. So it's like I finally feel like there's some degree of mastery and not even, it's still not there. So those songs continue to challenge me as a musician, I feel like, and I think that we're always sort of trying slightly different vibes within those songs and stuff. So we keep them fresh, and they feel just as relevant to me now.
We're also not really much of a touring machine. Like every time we get together, there's always like a bit of a different vibe.
Mhm.
Whether that be like different people in our party or using different equipment or whatever that ends up being. And I kind of feel like the songs are it's easier to be more expressive when we're playing them now than like it was at first. But it's
Because we're more comfortable with them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
but it definitely like I mean I didn't play on the older records, but it doesn't feel old to me at all. It's very it's fun to do every day.
Do you feel like you were kind of ahead of yourself in your ideals back then? As far as creating a record that you feel is kind of more relevant now?
I don't necessarily feel it's more relevant now, but I mean, it doesn't feel musically less relevant, you know, and I think in the context of the set list, it's cool to get to a spot where you're then playing some old stuff. It's like, it changes the cadence of things and it recontextualizes the new songs in a way. And so like, again, like thinking about the live performance as sort of its own self-contained, you know, thing that we do on occasion, it's nice to have those, I don't know, it creates more of a dynamic, you know, flow to have old stuff. So, but what was your question again? I'm sorry. Actually, I had an answer for it and then I went off
If you were ahead, if you felt ahead of yourself.
Oh, I think we always write things that are beyond our ambitions, like or beyond our actual capabilities, you know? I mean, I've never felt like immediately we went on tour and we're just like killing those songs, you know? Like it takes a while. And for me, it's like, it's still, like I said, I mean, I feel more comfortable with that old material, but it's still like hard, you know, it's still hard to play, and then there's other variables when you play live sometimes that come into it and make it just like a whole new crazy experience. Like if you're dodging a microphone stand the whole time, then it's never
That's
gets
something you don't really
easy.
practice for. You
Yeah.
should get a little apparatus that occasionally throws a mic at your face. while
Right,
you
it's for
practice.
training.
For themes on the new album, I was noticing like a lot of the pre-Olympic stuff, like pre-Mount Olympus, like the the cult of Demeter. Was that someone's like interest area, or how did that pop up as like a recurring theme on the
You're
album?
talking about the Dionysian references and
Yes,
stuff?
yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's some references to that. I think it's kind of about the spiritual journey. So some of those old forms of mysticism kind of sneak in, and there's references to a few different mystical traditions on the record. But that's one that I think kind of shows up a couple times.
I was just wondering, because a lot of those things are like formed religions in a way. Was it kind of like a back to basics, like not so much a rallying against like structure and like machinations, but was it more just like trying to get back to the roots of everything?
Yeah, well, I mean, so you're saying it's like before this, they're like early forms of spirituality before there was like a rigid structure or something involved?
Yeah, a rigid structure of like the Olympic gods being just after that history.
Yeah, I think there's some value in like those sort of more intuitive forms of spirituality where you have like a direct connection to the cycles of nature, you know, before everything became metaphor, or like before everything became like where there were like more middlemen and I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a good way to answer that. Anyway, that resonates with me. Yeah, I mean, I think those like the indigenous forms of spirituality are probably play a pretty heavy role in the record.
That's good.
Or at least like just exploring those ideas. Yeah.
Have those type of holistic values been something that you've been brought up with, or is that something that has kind of resonated with you over time, like being more connected to the earth and your own spirituality and putting that into your music?
Yeah, it's still an exploration. Like, I don't feel like I have a definitive approach to spirituality in my life, you know, but I'm open to a lot of those concepts. So I think they work their way in just as my fascination diversifies and I find different threads to pull on. But I think like the natural world is something that I'm drawn to more than sort of like culture a little bit. So, you know, exploring that and opening the door to references to those types of things in the music is something that's important to me. So, yeah.
Oh, I do have one little last question. So if this is like volume 1, are songs for volume 2 started to be written? Or I'm noticing the eyes, but have you already like finished like recording a whole other album, or do you have like ideas, or like what process? Yeah. Just like where are you in a process if you are going to release another album, maybe not 9 years apart from the previous one?
When we, I guess when I joined the band in 2007, we did like a fair amount of writing, but a lot of it was still really kind of exploring each other and kind of figuring out like how we were as a group at that point. And I think like there's a lot of raw material we haven't really touched on yet that's like completed to various degrees, but we've demoed a couple other songs and have definitely like a kind of rough outline for some of the following releases.
But who knows where, once we start to explore that stuff, where it'll take us and how long it'll take.
I think that's kind of the beauty of it. Is not being in a rush to do something just for the sake of doing it. I'm just kind of trying to strike a bit of a balance with life at home and like trying to make things relevant.
Do you guys all live in the same area roughly now, or is it?
Not even.
I live in Southeast Georgia on the coast.
Yeah.
And
I live in Hamilton, Ontario.
Yeah, well, I was wondering if you like moved south or something because you were saying.
Sometimes we get
I tried to.
He's done a lot of time there over the years, definitely.
I know like the bus routes.
Probably terrible. I've gone down to Chicago and I thought that was far, so.
Yeah, the ride to Savannah used to be like 36 hours if it was on time.
Andrew lives
out in Virginia.
Okay.
So, which is where we practice or have been practicing before tours in recent years. We would get together there because it's sort of a central point. So, but yeah, so our time together is limited and precious, and but we definitely have our foot in the door for new material. We worked out a lot of stuff before, so we'll figure it out. I mean, we'll see what our schedules allow.
Is it a lot
get to
of
it when we
file
can.
sharing back and forth, or do you
We've
do
done a
this
lot
with-
in person. I
Yeah.
mean, in various combinations of people getting together, you know, whenever we can. So it's not like we're all in the same place, but sometimes two of us will be together working on stuff here and there. So,
Yeah.
but there is some degree of utilizing, you know, technology to get ideas here back and forth. But it's not, you know, we've also jammed. We've jammed in Hamilton, at my place, at Kathy's place. It's just
In like 7 or 8 different spots in Georgia, we got kicked out of.
yeah, all
They
over
killed the guy.
Georgia.
Yeah,
What?
we killed the guy by accident.
with your noise?
But yeah,
It's too brutal for him.
There was an association with the sound of our music that that this woman had because it, like, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. That sounded worse maybe than it really was. Say we killed him. Hopefully we didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I
yeah.
really hope we did.
So do you guys have any final shout-outs or
Anything else going
thanks to anyone or
East Coast.
East Coast represent?
Shout out to the East Coast. Shout out to the West Coast.
Yeah.
The Midwest. The
Mideast.
South.
South.
Down south. Down south.
I'd like to thank you for having us.
on?
problem.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for
thank
doing
you.
it.
This is not a scene.
You're welcome.
Thank you.